What's going on, everybody? I'm Jen Piacenti here with Sports Illustrated, and can you believe it's already week 5, which means it's time to start making those tough start-sit decisions. And for that, we bring in Sports Illustrated's senior fantasy analyst, Michael Fabiano. Fabs, there's a certain QB you're looking at in Minnesota this week, and why do we like him?
Yeah, you know Kirk Cousins is coming off a stinker, so some people may be down on him a bit, but look at his success over the last season and a half, right? Last year, he was one of the top quarterbacks in fantasy football in the second half. He has scored 20-plus fantasy points in 8 of his last 10 games before this past weekend, and he's had a lot of success against the Lions last year, 55.1 combined points against the NFC North foe. So start Kirk Cousins. And then Sam Darnold. Again, another player escapes the clutches of Adam Gase and is suddenly very viable from a fantasy perspective. Now, I still don't consider him elite, but this is a guy right now who is a top 5 fantasy quarterback. He's got the Eagles this week. Their defense has surrendered over 50 combined fantasy points to quarterbacks over the last 2 weeks. And Sam Darnold suddenly is Cam Darnold. 5 rushing touchdowns, Piacenti.
I love that. Yeah, who would have ever thought that Sam Darnold has a rushing floor? But you're right, Fabiano. It's all about the matchups, and both of those are fantastic. But there's this few quarterbacks that you think we should sit because the matchups are just simply not good at all.
And Baker Mayfield is at the top of that list. He had a good matchup last week against the Vikings. He completed 45.5% of his passes. I'm sorry, Baker Mayfield. The Browns may be a good real football team. You're not a good fantasy quarterback. Let's put it that way. And you've got a bad matchup on the road in LA against the Chargers. They've allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks. And then Carson Wentz. And this is more for folks in 2 QB leagues. If you can afford to sit him, I would. He hasn't been bad this year, but when you put up 18 points in a fantasy football league as a quarterback, that's mediocre in this day and age. And that's basically been his ceiling so far this year. He's got the Ravens on Monday night, a tough road matchup. So Wentz is the guy that I would put on my bench.
Yeah, I'm still pretty upset with Baker Mayfield for last Sunday, ruining my OBJ. But that's okay. I'll forgive him and just leave him on the bench this week. For all of Michael Fabiano's start sits for the week, quarterback, running back, tight end, and wide receiver, be sure to visit us at si.com/fantasy.